Indian football is in dire straits at the moment, but they say when you're in a tunnel, there's possibly light at the end of the tunnel at times as well. So if Indian football is in that dark tunnel right now, there is that beacon of hope shining through as well. I'm joined by Hannah Muthoot, Verena, and Christian. Christian and Verena coming all the way, joining us as representatives from Borussia Dortmund, and Hannah Muthoot joining us on behalf of the Muthoot Group. The two of them have come together to ensure that Indian football can be improved, especially at the grassroots level. And that's why the two have partnered together. Hannah, over to you first. Could you tell us a bit more about this initiative that focuses on the Indian grassroots level of football?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, we at Muthoot Pappachan Group have been developing sport for the past 8 years in Kerala, and we have academies across various sport. But of course, football has been one of our key sport that we want to develop within Kerala and hopefully in the future across India. But what I found when I traveled across Europe and other parts of the world is that we have a systematic, you know, we don't take a very systematic approach when it comes to developing football from the bottom up. Rather, we are trying to solve something right on top, even though we have the right intentions in mind. And that goes for even Muthoot Pappachan Group previously. So for us, it was important to find a partner that is very passionate about understanding what a ecosystem like Kerala and India at large needs when it comes to football. Speaking to them in length, I realized that it's not just about developing the next best talent or even just looking at it as a commercial proposal, but rather they wanted to build system and structured approach when it comes to football ecosystem in Kerala with us, which is exactly what us at Muthoot Pappachan also have vision set at. So it's really an honor to join hands together and see how we can create a DNA in terms of starting from grassroots and then working our way up when it comes to development of football.
All right, since there's Christian and Verena also joining us right now, I'll take my next question to the two of them. Verena, if you could answer this one for us first before I come to Christian. When you look at the start, and there is an abundance of talent in Indian football, is what they say. For starters, what has been your assessment like when it comes to youth football in India?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And as you mentioned, what you just said about the talent that there is in the market, that is definitely something we see as well. So we have been on ground here in India multiple times in recent years, in different locations, and met different people and saw football as well. The last time we were here, we also went to a football match as well. And so we see when we do all these visits that the talent is definitely there. And we feel like there is so much work that can be done to elevate especially like the grassroots football in India. And that's why we're really, really happy to also partner up with the Muthoot Pappachan Group to tackle this together.
Right. Christian, the one thing I want to understand from you over here is when one talks about, let's say, German entity, a German football club having its presence here in India, as representatives of Borussia Dortmund, a club that we here in India look at one that focuses more on the youth, focuses on players that come through the academy. That is what the club has stood for in Germany. In India as well, will you look at taking the same philosophy forward, or will the plan be different here in India?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So whenever we have 50 academies throughout the globe in very many different countries, we are active with football development. And just taking into consideration what we do in Dortmund would not help us globally. Why? Because globally we are confronted with different kinds of football systems, structures, mindsets, viewpoints, and simply it would not work. So therefore, what we basically do is we need to look at the football ecosystem, see where we are, see the challenges, understand the people, understand where they really are. So my first time in India was like 8 years ago at a coaching summit organized by the All Indian Football Association. And back then it was still like this. I think there was 3 pro licensed coaches back then in India. So back then in Iceland, they had more licensed coaches than in India. And Iceland only has 500,000 population, and India is by far bigger. So what we do basically is we go to a certain country, and this is why it's so important that we met now Hannah like 9 months ago. And it took ourselves already quite some visits, plus a lot of exchange in order to understand where the Indian football market is at the moment and where it would like to be. But definitely we need to change certain mindsets. Definitely we need to change and adapt certain structures in order to make a proper system work here.
Right. Hannah, coming to you now, we've seen academies pop up over all these years. We've seen several academies pop up. One that, and ones that especially have had some sort of influence from Europe. We've seen a Manchester United, an Arsenal, Barcelona, all these big European clubs come to India and come up with these initiatives, open up academies. But there have been multiple blocks that they've faced, and they've not been able to deliver on the promise that they had made. How do you look at being different from what has been tried out here in India, and what's the plan going to be to ensure that you don't fall into the same pits as some of the others have fallen in the past?
Very, very nice question. And definitely, I think we've also very much evaluated that what are the barriers that when these European clubs are coming, where are we getting stuck, right? Why is it that after 1 or 2 years, then we don't see the club staying in India longer and actually making a very deep impact? And I think 3 of us, Christian, Marina, and myself, have had multiple conversations about this. And we wanted to address it from the get-go that our approach should be very different. Our approach is not just to develop Muthoot Football Academy, but actually to make Muthoot Football Academy successful, we realize that we need to look at the entire ecosystem and take a very systematic and structured approach from the bottom up. So as small as it might sound small, but it makes such a huge impact for football in the future is how can you have small kids as young as 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old actually just being active every day, moving their bodies, playing any forms of sport? And these are the kind of things that we want to bring together, right? That is not just looking at our academy, giving skilled training there, but look at young kids. How can we make them healthier individuals in India? Then you'll start noticing that there are actually kids who are very passionate about football, not just that they're talented. And then we're able to provide them with the right tools and expertise from Borussia Dortmund again to take them to the next level. But the focus is not really like, let's produce one star from Muthoot Football Academy that goes to Europe. And second part of it is we're looking at the entire holistic ecosystem of sport. So not just our players, but how can we get our coaches very, at a higher level? Can we teach them about more than just technical and tactical things? Can we teach them about nutrition? Can we teach them about everything holistically? Can we get more sports analysts into the system? How can we educate? So many different things, physios. There are so many other avenues that improve sport in India. So we're taking a very holistic approach when it comes to development rather than just focusing on one football academy.
I've got two questions, two more questions for you. If you could give us an idea where the academies will be, which centers, which cities can people then reach out and then hope for honing their skills. So, which centers have you picked for starters? And two, are you looking at a plan wherein to give European exposure? Because we've seen Indian football, European football, the standards are extremely different. There's a massive gulf over there. So will the idea be to take the bright talent here from India and give them some exposure? So will there be camps with the Borussia Dortmund in Germany, something like that people can look forward to as well?
Yeah, to answer your first question, we have our existing academy, Muthoot Football Academy out of Malappuram in Kerala. And of course, we're always exploring what are other areas in and around Kerala that we can develop infrastructure and create opportunities for kids as young as 4, 5, 6 year olds to train. So that is something that we're assessing right now together with our partners at Borussia. Then second question, which is, are there going to be knowledge shares and exposure for the children? Definitely, that's one of the things that we want to do later on in the partnership. We feel that first stage of the partnership is definitely to assess, create the right steps forward, and then second part of the partnership is being able to bring actually kids from there also, not just Germany, but they have, as Christian and Marina said, they have academies all across the world. Can we bring kids from Australia, from Germany, from Asian countries, everywhere to India and do an exchange? And this is not our idea, is so that this is a cultural exchange. Of course, football will be the tool there, and of course, it will uplift our Indian footballers to play with people of higher standard or maybe the same standard. But I think it's more than just that footballing side. It really develops those players to have that cultural exchange very young in age. And same for our kids here. We would like to take them to these different countries, give them the global exposure, learn from a very young age how to communicate, how to lead, how to be independent. So these are definitely things that we want to do. But we also want to take coaches there and bring coaches from Germany and other places to Kerala and India.
I see. Christian, you'd earlier in the chat mentioned that you were here 8 years back as well, and you have experience of working here in India. From that time to now, do you see a change in the mood as far as football goes, and how do you plan to use that prior experience of having worked with the Indian administrators? How do you plan to use that experience that you have in this second gig that you have now?
Well, we definitely feel that there is a certain need, but or certain willingness also from the Football Association to change and improve coaching development. So there are by far more licensed coaches nowadays than back then. By far, there are more means and more possibilities to license those coaches. There's more requirements when it comes to the at least the higher league level that they need to be licensed, all of these coaches. And this is probably one of the major keys and major factors. Apart from that, we still believe that it's very important as well, and that's what Hannah has mentioned just right away, not only looking at the professional clubs, but looking on development as such. Because 95% of the kids playing football, they are not in ASL clubs playing, no, they are just playing in grassroots levels, 99% probably. They don't have the resources, they don't have the possibilities, they don't have the coaches. So everything is basically lacking. And to just standardize certain processes, to standardize certain mindsets is one of the most important things. Because what we also mentioned already a couple of times today is simply that we would need to define and come along also with the most important stakeholders. What makes our roadmap successful in 5 or 10 years' time? What is success to us? Is it like the next Marco Reus playing for our club and he's from India? Or is it like increasing the participation rates in sports or in organized sports? Increasing to use sports as a vehicle to increase educational backgrounds of the communities. So using for sure sports to reach higher levels would be indeed a goal, but it would not be necessarily the one which typically media would always address, because I was half a year here still in India, and the first question from a journalist was basically, when do you expect the first Indian professional playing for your club? And therefore, I think this is, of course, a very sexy question for a journalist, but in my eyes, we need to go a very long way still in order to make that all happen, and that takes a lot of steps in order to be prepared for that special moment.
Yeah. Verena, what I want to know from you is in terms of this project, what is it that excites Borussia Dortmund the most? Is this also an opportunity then to take Borussia Dortmund and German football to a new audience? And what exactly is it about this prospect that excites Borussia Dortmund at the start?
Yeah, that's a very good question. What excites us about the project is, or about the partnership with Muthoot is we're just very excited to get started because, like I think we mentioned several times now, um, our visions on development and development of young football players and people are like so aligned. And that's like really nice to see what we are creating in Dortmund and what we're very proud of is also something that wants to be that people want to have in India and want to build up on. And that's just something that very excites us where we can really see like with what the work that we've done so far in Dortmund and that we can really like create an impact in India, or in Kerala, and then in India as well. And that is just something that we're like really looking forward to together, and joining forces here hand in hand. And yeah, like we mentioned before, it's like it's not just developing the next Messi or Ronaldo, but it's really about the people on ground and about making an impact and developing the whole football ecosystem here. And that is something that, yeah, we're very, very proud of, and we're really looking forward and are excited about it.
Hannah, closing thoughts. I wanted to take some closing thoughts from you before we wrap this conversation up. The one thing here in India is at times guardians and parents are a bit hesitant when it comes to giving their ward the utmost freedom, especially in a sport like football, which is struggled, which is second or the third pick in terms of choices that a child gets here in India. So your word with this new initiative of yours that you are starting out on, your word, what will be your advice to those parents who are watching this right now? The children would be very excited to see a Borussia Dortmund come to India, but that hesitation. If there's something you would like to say to them to allay all those concerns and those hesitations that they may have.
Sure. I think this is something that even with our Muthoot Football Academy, we keep talking to our boys about. And even in our vision, we always think about is that, you cannot, we look at sport as a vehicle, we look at sport as a tool. There is, of course, a potential for many athletes or players who can go and play at the highest level in India when they are when they have a lot of passion, when they have a lot of determination and they want to go to the last mile, they will put in that effort because that there will be an internal drive. So even if a parent, sometimes says don't play anymore, if that much passion is there, there are opportunities in India for them to continue doing. But I think one thing for parents and guardians is it's very important that you look at sport as a way to create well-rounded children, right? If you've ever played sports as a child, it teaches you not just tactical or technical skills. It teaches you how to be a leader. It teaches you how to lose and succeed, how to take failures well, how to work well in a team, how to, manage multiple things, whether that is your studies as well as your sport. So I think sport and football in itself is a vehicle and tool that, that you should encourage your kids to participate. And it also makes your kid much more mentally tough if you play a sport at a very young age. So that would definitely be my advice to parents.
All right, Hannah Muthoot, thank you so much for giving us your time. I also want to thank Verena and Christian. We hope you enjoy your time here in India, and all the very best to the three of you for your new initiative.